Hi, I'm Elaine Penhall and I'm here today talking with Kevin Scrupps. And the conversation we're going to have today is about something called the GROW model. Have you come across the GROW model as a framework for your mentoring, Kevin?
I haven't really had it described as a GROW model, but obviously we discussed it earlier and I understand what we're about to talk about.
Brilliant, brilliant. Many people, I think, who come into Agents Together as a mentor have got a lot of life experience, a lot of business experience. And when they begin a conversation with a mentee, they are informally, probably without realizing it, using quite a structured way of helping somebody think about their business, helping somebody to move their thinking forwards. And it's like lots of things really. If you understand it in a conscious way, then you can choose to do more of it. And so the GROW model is a framework that allows us to begin and to open up a conversation with a mentee in a structured way so that we can do it more deliberately, more intentionally, if you like. May I outline the...
Yes, please do.
Fantastic. So the G for GROW is the goals. So probably you're already doing some goal setting with your mentees.
Yes, I think, again, you start with an outline of what they want to achieve, and then I think goals change along the journey as you spend time with someone. But I think you've always got, I call it objectives, you've called it goals, and I think they're set at each meeting and they're probably preset with a communication before the meeting, and then you work through them. Some you can work through very quickly, some are going to take a little bit longer.
Absolutely. And so it's starting out with those, and it might be, the questions around it might be, we've got 6 months together as part of the mentoring relationship. What do you want to be different at the end of the 6 months? You might then, and you've just alluded to, within a meeting, so within an hour's mentoring session, for example, you might be saying, what do you want to be different at the end of this session? So it's about the long-term, the medium and the short-term goals.
Yes.
And helping somebody think through what they want to get out of the mentoring is important.
Absolutely.
It's important.
Yes.
Yeah. So then the R is the reality. And the reality questions would centre around, so tell me a little bit about what's happening now. Yeah?
Yeah, the reality is a really interesting topic because you have the goals, and in reality, are they achievable? Are we committed to achieving them? Have we got the right direction for achieving them? So it's a very good way of describing, sort of analysing the goals and working to the end goal, but in there is the reality. Sometimes reality is not what we always want to talk about, but you do have to understand the reality of getting to the goal.
Yes, and the reality of the baseline as well.
Yes.
So the thing, well, what's happening now and what's preventing you, what may prevent you from getting to the goals is a good way, I think, of looking at
Yes.
exactly what you've just described. Once we've established the goal and the reality, we move on to the options. Okay, so I understand your goal, I understand what's happening right now and where you want to get to. What are your options?
Yep.
How might you be getting there?
I think, again, that's got to be a very open conversation with the individuals, and they'll come up with the easy options first. They'll always discuss what's easiest to tick off the box, if you like. But there's sometimes some options in there that are more challenging and not quite as easy to make a decision about. So again, I think all of these things evolve. So you have a clear goal to start with, and then that rolls on to another goal, and you're discussing the reality and the options all the way through this journey.
Exactly.
So yeah, the options are interesting because they can, and this is where you've got to understand your mentee's business and their character and personality as well, because some will go the easy way and some will want to take a very hard line and a big challenge on to start with, and you might have to just say, well, let's start a little bit earlier in this stage, really. So it's a really interesting conversation about the options of achieving.
I love that bit. I really love that bit. And it's that bit, exactly as you say, maybe your role as a mentor is to support them and to help them go down the easier route so they get their quick wins first. And in some cases, it might be to be a little bit more challenging. Okay, so, well, if that weren't a problem, so if money weren't an issue, what would you do? And it's kind of opening up their bigger thinking so that they can get to something that perhaps they never even dreamt of being able to get to.
Yes.
Thoughts. And the W, the last bit of the grow, the W is about you'll hear it described as either the will or the way forward. So my questions as a mentor when I get to that stage is about, and you spoke earlier about an action plan coming out of each session. So it might be about the action plan. So what's going to be your first step? What are you going to do tomorrow? Or what are you going to do before we meet again? And I also would scale that action. So you have said you are going to do so and so. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 10's high, what's your motivation right now? And if somebody comes back and says, well, it's about a 7, what would it take before we end this conversation to get it to a 10?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I think it all links together, but it's them understanding the journey and understanding what it's going to take and avoiding the distractions that we talk about a lot to business owners. It's very easy to get distracted, sidetracked, not really face the key issue. So they've got to be totally committed to the journey they're on. And I think from a mentor's perspective, if you've got a mentee who's really committed, it makes it much more enjoyable and much easier to work with them. If you've got somebody who's not sure, it's a slower process.
Yeah. And that's the bit where as a mentor, you just kind of breathe.
Yes, and be patient.
Absolutely. So using the GROW model on a conscious level perhaps gives you a very clear framework as a mentor for how you might just walk somebody through the process.
Yes, I think it does. And I think it's, as you said, many people are doing those processes without thinking, but it gives them clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.